Hello, my name is Tertius, and I am a wanker. I eat Vaseline with toast. Jokes aside, a good friend of our community is going through some health tribulations and is currently unemployed. We decided to set up a GoFundMe in order to help him a bit. Going through health issues absolutely sucks, and if you have it in your heart and can help with any value, that would be of great help. The GoFundMe is in the description. Thank you for your time and enjoy the story.
I come from a piss-poor family. My mom was the black sheep of her family because of her drug abuse during her youth. My dad was also a good-for-nothing junkie that ended up knocking her up and having a kid. When I was 3 years old, my dad just walked out of the house never to be seen again. My mom ended up stopping her drug abuse when I was born, and now she had to raise me without the help from her family and my dad. Life was fucking miserable for us. And I remember that when I was 10 I would take long walks alone around the town, mostly to stay away from the trashy stepdad my mom dated at the time. I ended up making friends with some kids from my trailer park, and the walks turned into exercise and running sessions. I ended up reaching 18 years old, being built up, and having some resemblance of a six-pack. I used to work since I was 13, mainly cutting grass, painting walls and doing all-around housework like installing drawers and cleaning. But when I was 18 my mom got diagnosed with a degenerative disease, and had to stop working. So now working was a matter of survival for me and especially my mother. I was painting a wall for a rich dude that lived far away from my house, when he approached me with a job offer. He said that I was a well-built white kid and had a good face, and that I will do good as a model in his modeling business. Despite the homo vibes I was getting from him, I told him I would love to work as a model. He called me into a room and showed me some of the pictures he would take. The man was serious about making me a model. How can I contact you, young man? I live some we had far away from here. When I was about to start giving him directions he said, well, here, have this. This will make things easier for us. He got me a shitty Nokia phone and said to stay near it tomorrow. I almost didn't sleep that night while playing Snake. The next day he really called and we went into his agency. When he was explaining me about the job I found out a couple of things. First, he really did run a modeling business, although it was shitty. Second, the main point of his business wasn't really the modeling, but his women's nightclub he ran on the side. The club was fairly well known and really wealthy people went there, especially old ladies eager to spend their dead husbands' inheritances. The job was fairly easy. I would take pictures for shitty clothing brands during the day, and at night I would go to the club and strip dance the night away. Around 3 weeks in, and while I was getting dressed in the back rooms, one of the front workers came to me and said that some old lady had made an offer of $700 on me, and I could choose if I wanted to do it or not. That was the first time I accepted a side deal for the company. You may judge me now, but $700 for about 40 minutes of work really goes to your head, especially if you are young. From then on, I kept working there, charging more and more money each time, to the point that I was the top dog when it came to price there. I also complimented my show to make it worth it. And I was capable of staying afloat and barely paying my mom's medical bills up to that moment. As soon as I turned 20, one of the club's clients took an interest in me. Up until that point, I had always refused to do anything with another man, but my mother's treatment was getting more expensive, so I felt like I had no choice. When the clerk said he was offering more money than you could make in a year here, I had to accept. One of the club attendants gave me a key to one of the basement rooms and told me to take a shower and wait. I went downstairs and reached the bedroom where a king-size bed awaited me. I took a shower and sat on the bed wearing only my robe. A short time later the door opened and a tall white old man in a suit entered the room. Looking surprised to see me standing there in a robe. "Are you Anon?" "Yes," I said. "I believe your boss didn't correctly state the situation." "I am not your client, Mr. Anon. I'm here representing my boss. I came here to discuss an offer." He explained to me how his boss owned another modeling agency, and one of his clients was offering about $50,000 for me to come over to his house and spend the weekend aiding his festive activities. I would be put on a plane the next day and sent to a place for the weekend. He also made it very clear that if I were to work with him, I should forget about everything I saw and stop asking questions, but that I will have a lot more money if I took up the offer. He sat in an armchair and said I had 20 minutes to think. Do I have to do men and women? Naturally, Mr. Anand. So, just for this weekend, I will get 50 grand? Yes, Mr. Anand. Can I leave after that? Anytime, Mr. Anand. All you have to do is sign some documents. I ended up accepting the offer. I was in need of quick cash, and the next day I was at the airport ready to catch a plane. I only found out the destination of my flight when that same man handed me a ticket to Angola. Fucking Angola. I won't go into details about what happened on that trip, but it involved a lot of alcohol and buck breaking. My client there was a very rich black dude that went by the name Benno. And that's all I can reveal. I was back 3 days later with my pride and my back wounded. On the same day that I arrived, I received a message on my old Nokia. 50,000 had been deposited into your account. I spent the day recovering at home and didn't went to work for the next 3 days. On Thursday a strange number called me. I recognized the voice of the gentleman who had given me the previous job. He said that the client and his boss were satisfied, and then he called me to a restaurant in the area to discuss a long-term contract. Arriving there, at one of the tables were seated the old man and a woman, whom I immediately recognized as a famous person. I sat at the table, and immediately stated that I wanted her autograph. Unfortunately, the old man reminded me what I was there for. I signed several contracts and NDAs, and at the end of that meeting he told me that he would get in touch as soon as possible, and that I would no longer work as a dancer, only a model. I can go into details, but it was an amount of money I had never seen in my life. Plus, I would get paid for every night I did on the side. From then on I started hanging out with famous people, and they paid me a lot of money for a night or even a few hours. I managed to pay for my mother's treatment, and I had started saving money. I didn't need to do anything outside of what the agency asked. Anything like participating in night activities was paid out by the client. I turned down most of them to try to maintain whatever dignity I still had. Famous people have weird fetishes, some involving klockas. One day, a very famous woman made me a proposal that was difficult not to accept. She offered me $70,000 to spend a night with her in a place of freedom, and I agreed. The place was located in the outskirts of the city. It was a big ranch, and there were several celebrities in a party there. I spent my time stuffing myself with food and drinks, and around 2:30 a.m. the woman who hired my services asked me to accompany her to the main suites of the ranch, so the real party could start. She gave me a carnival mask and wore one herself, grabbed my hand and led the way. When I arrived there was a blindfolded woman laying down in a dim-lighted room and several masked men and women kissing and licking her body. At that moment I was feeling like something was really wrong. I had never felt something like that before, a feeling of fear and anxiety. I got into the hot tub and stayed there until a woman walked in and stood beside me. She offered me cocaine. "Thank you, but I don't do drugs, lady." She then asked, "Well, then can I do some cocaine on your body?" "What?" "Yes, can I do cocaine on your body? You have a nice body. I'll get you $5,000 for that, what do you say?" Sure." I got myself dried and we went to a room, where she snorted away on my body. Mid-snorting she took off the mask and I recognized her as a famous person. The woman that hired me came through the door and also snorted some lines on my body. She then picked up the woman's mask and gave back to her. After that, she grabbed me by the hand and pulled me to a corridor. As we were in the corridor, she said, "Don't be afraid, you are being paid to participate." We went into the room that the blindfolded woman was, where she tied my arms and placed me on my knees next to the woman. Everyone stopped what they were doing and were now just watching us. The woman got a knife and made a deep cut into the blindfolded woman's leg. Then she got a chalice, and filled half of it with blood. She then held the chalice in front of me. "Here, drink it, it comes from a young, rich and beautiful person." I recoiled for a bit, saying no. She kept approaching with the chalice, and was now aggressively ordering me to drink it. I ended up drinking it. I gagged with the strong taste of iron in my mouth. While I was coughing, a woman wearing a black dress and carrying a black suitcase approached my client and said, "I just got it from him. Make your offer." They said something to each other and the woman wearing the dress left the suitcase and went away. At this point people had already dispersed and were doing other things in the party. She placed the suitcase next to me and opened it. There were lots and lots of $100 bills in there. "What is that?" I asked. "This, my child, all of this and much more can be yours if you agree to do this party with me monthly." I didn't answer. She then grabbed some of the dollar bills and placed them on my hands. "Here, this will pay for some more playtime, right?" Suddenly the same people that were around the blindfolded woman started doing the same thing they were doing to her to me. We did the deed for hours, and they seemed to never get tired. I can say for certain that some of their eyes were black, and some of their voices were from well-known singers. When everything was done, they poured blood on top of my crotch. I could say for sure if the blood was human or not. They then said it was a form of thanking me. I ended up sleeping right there, exhausted, on a bed soaking with blood. A couple hours later I woke up, and took a shower in the bathroom next to the bed. When I left the room I was in, the same woman on the dress from the night before was waiting for me with a suitcase. "Here is your money, Mr. Anand." She then grabbed a stack of $100 bills from the suitcase and gave it to me. She then said, "Everything you have seen here, who you have seen here, what happened here, you should never tell anyone. Do that for your mom." While I was walking along the lady, one of the rooms had the door opened. I glanced inside and saw the woman that I drank the blood from on the ground naked, extremely pale and immobile. After that, they got me in a cab and I was taken to my house. That exact same day I made my mom grab all her essentials and we fucked off to about 3 states away from there. I don't know what the fuck happened, and I just want to forget it all. It's been 8 years now, but I keep looking over my shoulder fearing that they will decide to suicide me at any time.